when I announced, hey, I'm just going to save during my last year of MBA and go travel the world, that was a bit weird. It took a while to
Mm.
just for me to spit it out, really. And after that, it just became easier. Like once you kick the door, it stays ajar.
Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Pauline Paquin. I hope I'm saying your name right. I should have practiced that earlier. And she used to be Mademoiselle Perfect when she was doing her MBA in France, and we'll talk a bit about that. But now she has given up that white picket fence and 2.1 children and perfect existence to become an intuitive entrepreneur and world traveler. She's also an expert with money, and we'll talk a bit about that. But we're going to start off by talking about some major life moves she made back when she was Mademoiselle Perfect. So, and just in case you don't know her, she lives in Guatemala now and moved out of France. I'm giving away where she moved to. And she has a beautiful guest house in the jungle that she rents out. And she's passionate about empowering people financially and has 5 personal finance blogs. And we'll maybe put those into the show notes so you can find them. But she certainly has escaped the rat race. And she uses her intuition now when she's running a business. So welcome, Pauline.
Thank you so much, Michaela. Thank you for having me.
Yay. So just so we're clear, you were following the perfect life plan, right? You'd done your degree, you were doing an MBA, you'd learned how to ride a horse, you were being groomed to be the perfect French wife.
I was all the way to parents having hopes of me marrying their sons, their friends' sons.
Mm.
Is that? Yeah, friends' sons. Sorry. And I started thinking, yeah, that's just the way it's going to be. I'm going to get my MBA. I'm going to have a nice career. I'm all set. But during the MBA, I got my first taste of cubicle life, and I was working for IBM in that big tower in Paris. You get in, it's dark, you get out, it's dark. It was nuts for me. It was terrible. And it was really hard actually to go from being perfect and following all of your family's expectations. In my family, children don't speak at the dinner table and things like that. So
Wow.
when I announced, hey, I'm just going to save during my last year of MBA and go travel the world, that was a bit weird. It took a while to
Mm.
just for me to spit it out, really. And after that, it just became easier. Like once you kick the door, it stays ajar.
So what led you to, you said you didn't like the idea of being in the rat race, but how did you decide where you were going to move to?
Uh, I did not. I just thought, hey, I'm going to travel the world for a while.
Mm.
And then life kind of happened. And I started imagining my life. Hey, I'm going to come back to Paris. I was maybe 6 to 9 months into my trip, and it had been wonderful. I'd met great people, nice places. And I started talking to my friends from business school who said when I left, I was throwing my degree away. And I said, hey guys, how's it going? How do you enjoy it back in Paris with your fancy carrier? And they said, well, it's hard. We hate our jobs. It doesn't pay enough to live in Paris anyway, so we have to commute for an hour and a half. And we live in a 1 bedroom if we're lucky, these tiny European apartments. And I thought, hey, that's not for me, still not for me. So how do I swing that? And I really liked Latin America. So I just thought, well, I'm going to see if, life send me a job. I'm moving there. And I sent maybe 5 applications and I got a job in Guatemala. So I was a hotel manager for a while, and then one of the hotel clients poached me and hired me in his law firm. So I guess I still had that, I'm going to do whatever it takes to live the lifestyle that I want. And right now, the only thing I know is get a job mentality. But I didn't want to be a bartender. In Guatemala, they make $1 plus tips. All the tourists that hang around the bars in tourist destinations, and I wanted options. I wanted to be able to fly home if someone got married or died or whatever. I wanted to be able to afford all that. So yeah, at the beginning, the only thing I knew was get a job. And after a while, I'm like, okay, I'm just living the same life. The background is different, but the life is the same. So I moved to Barcelona and I started a company.
Now, how did you decide what company to start?
A friend started talking to me, one of my similar-minded friends from business school, let's say, said, hey, how about we start an energy saving company? So Barcelona, there's problems with water, and we had solutions to preserve water, like these low flow shower heads or the little foamers that you put to wash your hands. And it was great. We were all over Barcelona. We were equipping like 20 hotels from the same chain at the same time. And then it was 2007, 2008, construction crisis, no more money. Everything, people were not paying us. We had like 6 months payment plans for our clients. And I could see it going south really fast. So I moved to London. And yeah, that was another just kind of random, hey, let's see, I'm more money minded. So, hey, where do I go to make quick money? Well, London sounds like a good place to get a good job really fast. And yeah, a week later, I was on a plane to London to do a job interview and got the job and just moved there for a while.
Now, do you think that was a head decision you made, or was it from your heart, or your gut, or your left toe, or?
That was a gut decision. Like, it's not manageable to stay here and keep expecting things to change quickly. If we're entering a crisis,
yeah,
it's just not good. And I'm a money person, but I'm not a spreadsheet kind of 3-year plan. I have no idea, honestly. Even for income, I'm like, as long as I make enough, it's fine. I don't budget. It's kind of a balanced approach, as long as there's a safety net and as long as expenses are kind of covered. Like, when you overeat, I know when I overspend and when I need to control that. So the move to London was, a gut reaction. Oh my God, this is not what I signed up for. I still need safety. And in order to be safe, I need money, I need options. And I wanted a rental property to get some passive income. I had a tiny one I bought in Paris, a tiny studio, well, in the worst suburb of Paris. And I still had a little income from that, but I wanted another one. So how do you get a rental property? Well, you need a mortgage. And in order to get a mortgage, you need a job. And that came from a point of feeling like I needed safety. it was not, oh, okay, so in order to live my life, I need, £1,000 a month. And so I need a cash flowing property that spits out £1,000 a month. It was, I need safety. I need, I need to know I'm covered. And yeah, that's what prompted the move to London. And as soon as I got that property, the mortgage, the plan, yeah, I guess the only way I follow a plan like that is because I see the end of the tunnel, and I know it's going to be, worth the cubicle, the long winters, I was the first foreign employee in that company, so I even experienced racism. Like, you do that because you're French. Oh, that's disgusting. What do you eat? You have to be French to eat that. Things like that. They were treating me differently. They were not honoring like holidays and stuff, extra time. And yeah, that was not a good place to be. But I had my eye on the prize, and then I gave my resignation later, and I moved to Morocco.
Wow. Now, what would you say to, I know some people listening may have a dream that they would move to another location or even another country, or get a different job somewhere else. And maybe some of them like ponder this for years and don't do anything. What would you say to someone who was listening in that situation?
Well, I like projecting myself. Like I lay in my bed and I'm just dreaming. I close my eyes. I'm like, okay, I'm living in Morocco now, in my London bed. And what do I like about it? Okay, so it's sunny, it's warm. It's 100 euros away from Paris, so I can visit. It's easier to visit than Guatemala, blah, blah, blah. I just go on about my life and I'm like, yeah, it feels very good. And then I sit down and I'm like, what's the worst case scenario? What can happen? So I had a family member, for example, who was miserable at her job, and she had the opportunity to get a free training, because in France you have part of your income is going to training funds, and then your company gives you free days and you can train in pretty much anything. And so she was going to, from that awful government job, to learn, I think it was Reiki or some healing thing for 2 years. And I'm like, hey, that's awesome. Just, yeah, take the sabbatical and go do that. Yeah, but what if I have to go back to my job? I could not look my colleagues in the face. That was her answer. Like, she was terrified to go back to the same place that she was in. I'm like, well, every time I take a leap, my worst case scenario is usually I'm going to lose a bunch of money. I mean, I'm starting a new business, I'm moving to a new country, etc., etc. I have something to lose. You have absolutely nothing to lose. Your worst case is you're going back to today, 2 years from now. And so that's something I enjoy doing. Like, what's my worst case scenario? Is it really that bad? And usually it's not that scary, and that helps you get over the fear of doing whatever you've been procrastinating on for years. And if not, just stop talking about it, because I find it really annoying when people say, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then 2 years later, you're like, hey, how's it going? How's that new job? How's the move? How's the entrepreneurship? Oh, yeah, it's, the economy or the kids, or there's no time, or whatever excuse people come up with. And yeah, I just don't want to hear about it. It's taking up mental space for nothing.
Yeah, it does take up mental space if you have dreams but you don't act on them and you're still talking about them. I mean, you could put the dream, you could move it into the future and say, well, I'm not going to do it this year, but I'm going to plan for it in 5 years or whatever. I'm going to stop talking about it until I get nearer. No, I think you might as well do your dreams now, you know. Why wait?
Well, there's always an excuse, but again, yeah, if you weigh it against what you tend to gain and what you might lose, the gain usually overpowers everything.
It does, yes. And you can always use what would it take to get rid of any, you know, perceived obstacles. But I think most obstacles are just excuses or their fear showing up as an obstacle. So
It's, yeah, fear is a big one. And when you place people in front of their fears and you deconstruct the fear, they're usually not ready to accept it.
yeah, well, you know, we can't live other people's lives for them.
Sure.
We can, if they want advice, we can give that. You know, if they want emotional support, we can provide that. But at the end of the day, they have to make whatever change it is and want to do it.
That's very true.
Yeah. So you were in Morocco. How did you get to Guatemala then? Because that's where you are now, right? Between there and Colorado.
For love.
Ah, okay.
I ended up in Morocco for a year, and I thought it would be a really good life for me, but I ended up being in kind of an expat bubble with all the other French people, and I really wanted to live the local life. And I was in Casablanca, so that's a very modern, open city. I never got into any trouble or anything for being a woman, for wearing skirts, etc., etc. I could live the local life if I wanted to, but I learned basic Moroccan Arabic, but could not get the kind of deep conversation that you want to have in order to really know someone. I could barely, order things at the market or get into a cab. And, I started missing Guatemala. And I realized that it was not like the things that had made me move partly were the distance from family and friends. And that was back in 2004. So I had to be out on the balcony with my laptop pulled out to make a call to my family so I could catch the good signal. All these things were non-existent problems. I was making way more money, so I was able to fly back 4 times a year if I wanted to. But yeah, rewind a little bit. Before that, I just thought, hey, I'm just going to go visit my friends in Guatemala. It's been a while. And while I was there, I met someone, and we went traveling on a motorcycle for a couple of years. And
all over Guatemala?
Yeah.
All over Latin America?
We went from Guatemala to Seattle to New York, and then I bought a bike in London that we took all over Europe.
Wow.
And to Morocco. And yeah, so that was a hard decision. Like, things are just going to be all right. I'm just going to go with the flow. I prepared financially with the rental and the London stint, and I'm good. I can afford it. And worst case scenario, I just take a flight home, and nothing's gonna happen. So went back to Morocco, gave up my apartment, packed my stuff, brought it back to Paris, and followed the guy on the back of a motorcycle for a couple of years.
Sounds fun.
It was really fun. And it gave us a lot of excitement, adventure, and it's a fun way to start a relationship. You 24/7 traveling, your belongings are limited to a tiny suitcase, and it's a fun way to get to know someone.
What do you put in a suitcase when you only have a tiny suitcase and it's on the side of a motorbike?
A laptop, cold weather gear and as many underwear as you can fit. Doing laundry is tedious. So yeah, we tried to have about 2 weeks worth of clothes
Mm-hmm.
and very versatile items. Like a sarong can be a towel and can be a beach towel and can be a headscarf, etc., etc. So you try to find
Can be a
stuff.
dress.
Yeah,
I have a sarong. It's great.
yeah, exactly. So that's one of the things I just pack everywhere. Protects your laptop. You can rope
Mm.
your laptop in there.
You can even wrap up a baby in it and put it on your back. You know, they do that in Peru.
So yeah, it was fun. And then we went back to Guatemala and we were kind of looking for purpose, I guess, because we
Mm-hmm.
didn't have that excitement of going somewhere new every
Mm.
day. So we bought a place in the jungle that
Oh.
was kind of falling apart and full of critters and fixed it up. And yeah, that was another kind of hard decision. I didn't even see the place. I saw some pictures and my heart was like, oh, I want to look at that view for months on end. Yeah, put an offer. And I was in Europe. He put an offer. We got the place. And yeah, I came back with a bigger suitcase. And it's been 6 years since I've been in Guatemala. So that's my longest move ever. And it feels good to have a home after 2 years of roaming, and then the rest was kind of renting places here and there. I finally have a place where I can have a dog, where my stuff doesn't have to be packed all the time and moved to storage because some other people are going to come. And there's something nice about sleeping in your own bed when you come back from somewhere.
Mm. So you also have guests. You have a guest house that you rent out on Airbnb or.
Yeah, so the initial house that we bought and fixed up is now a guest house.
Mm.
At the beginning, we were living there, then we broke up, so I bought him out, and I was living there with guests. And you don't want to do that. They're gonna knock at your door at all kind of
Mm.
hours, just asking the most random things. So I
Mm-hmm.
made a very nice laminated sheet, and I went to their house
Ah.
a mile away.
Now, how do you decide who to rent to? Do you follow your intuition on whether someone's going to be a good guest or?
I don't, and I have a really good radar for that, and then I blame myself.
So
So
your radar shows you that a bad guest is incoming. Look out, Pauline, and then you
exactly,
still rent to them.
and then I'm like, oh, I can still use the income, and it's gonna be all
Mm.
right. And one of the last people I had, so I usually don't rent rooms individually. I try to rent the whole place to bigger groups or families.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same amount of emailing back and forth and the same amount of problem for 5 times the money. So I get a little more patient when more money is involved. Um, anyway, these people were last minute. They just wanted a tiny, cheap room. The first email she sends me says, "Hey, can we pick the room once we've booked it?" And I have a listing for all different rooms at different price points, right? So she inquires about the super cheap one and then asks, "Hey, is it like when we get there, can we pick any room?" And I'm like, "No, you're renting the super cheap one." And so I canceled the booking inquiry and I said, "Well, I don't want you to be misguided. This is a very tiny room. There's no air conditioning. There's a shared bathroom, and that's what you're applying for, inquiring for." And it kind of put her over my mind, so I didn't want to deal with her. And then I get another email and inquiry, and now she's booking for one person because I have a fee for the second person. So she's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's fine. We're gonna arrive this time, blah blah. I'm like, well, if you're two people, you book for two. So it was screaming trouble. And usually I found out that's the lower price points, you get people expecting a lot because it's Guatemala and people are like, hey, it's the third world. I'm going to pay $10 and I'm going to get the Ritz. And when I get at a higher price point, I get more respectful guests who treat your house with respect. And that's the kind of people I want to attract. So that's why I almost never rent the cheap rooms. And anyway, it was a last minute thing. It was for 3 or 4 nights. I'm like, yeah, it might be worth my while. And well, without a fault, I got a meh review, and because they didn't get the upgrade to the fancy rooms with the AC, and they had to be picky about every little thing. And yeah, I regret it, and it's always screaming at me. And
your intuitive voice is screaming at you. Is that?
yeah,
What does she say to you?
Like, you don't need the trouble. The trouble is not worth your while. Now that I've reached a point where I don't need to kill myself for a paycheck, my time is worth a lot to me, and I decided I would only.
How much do you think your time is worth to you?
It's really weird. Like, if I enjoy doing something, I'll just do it for free. But I've turned down clients at several $100s an hour because I just didn't feel like I wanted to do the job.
But in the case of this rental stuff, how much is it worth? You know, how much do they have to be paying you for you to have to deal with some hassle, or is there no amount they can pay?
There's no amount. It's just not worth your time. Like, because you get angry. So if it's an Airbnb booking, for example, you get 2 weeks before you can read the review, unless you also put a bad review. So you got 2 weeks with a little voice in the back of your head saying, oh my God, that's just going to ruin my business. That's just going to ruin my business. And people aren't super mean in general, but if you get a 3-star, you might as well get a 1-star. Like, after, if you're using it as a guest, you know that you pay attention to the bad reviews, and you're like, okay, these people were happy, but let's see what the unhappy one has to say about it. So no, there's no, you cannot even quantify the amount of business you lose if you get a bad review.
So it's better not to have that kind of guest who is likely to give you a bad review in the first place. Yeah,
I'm just looking for trouble.
So do you have some advice to your younger self, or as to how she should have dealt with that particular guest, when they were inquiring?
Yeah, just say no and move on with your life. And yeah, you cannot put a price on worry and concern. And so I'm in the jungle and the power goes out sometimes. So if the power goes out, I'm like, oh my God, do they have candles? And their food is going to spoil, and they're gonna open the fridge for 15 minutes to see what's in the fridge, and then it's gonna take all the the cold air out. It's gonna be terrible. So I know that too. I know that I need to limit bookings in heavy rain season, but that also happens to be the summer holidays for the US. So I'm packed. And again, the voice is telling me you shouldn't have done that, and it's going to affect you for Christmas rentals, for example, when the power doesn't go out, but there's 5 reviews saying the power went out, and people want comfort. So yeah, I would tell my younger self to just keep the end goal in mind, which is, a year's revenue, or I don't I don't have a mortgage on that. It's all cash. So I don't have the bank. I don't have, additional stress that I need to deal with. But still, it's the business, so it needs to generate profits, and it will run better if, I don't have that additional stress and worry, and just listen to myself a little more, I guess.
What do you do to listen to your inner voice?
Usually I lay down and close my eyes and start kind of talking to myself and say, hey, I try to be compassionate, but sometimes I have to admit I screw up. And so you did the best you could with the tools you were given. What can you do to do things better next time?
And then you listen to what your inner voice says.
Then I listen. It doesn't mean I put it into practice. I listen. Baby steps.
There you go. Do you write down any of this, like in a journal,
or? I stopped journaling. I used to do it, but when I started my blogs about money, and I started talking about my journey in Guatemala and how we were fixing the house and everything that was going through my mind at the time. And it kind of felt like there was no more brain energy or creative energy to journal on the side. And it felt good because it was kind of journaling to the world, or putting a diary on the open. And I kind of liked it. I was never anonymous. I always put my name there. But then when people started, apparently friends Google you, and some people were like, hey, I found your blog. Like, what? I never publish it. Like on Facebook, I separate blogging and personal Facebook. And people started finding me, and I'm like, that's really weird, because now it's not like my readers have a face. I'm writing and my cousin is reading it and my friend is reading it. So it's felt a little uncomfortable at first, but it was pretty good because your mind is in the open and everyone can, read your brain thoughts on a regular basis.
So let's switch to talking about money, because you run 5 blogs about money, and
Yes.
I know a lot of people who combine some kind of spiritual work with a business have difficulty with money. So what's your thought about money? Is money evil or good, or?
Money is a tool, and money is not good, it's not bad, it's just a tool. Like you need a toothbrush, like you need tools to work in the garden, you need money. And attracting money is not bad, it's not going to make you a bad person. And I know some people just take religious, or the monks or the eremites, and they just got rid of all possessions thinking money was bad. But there's also the Protestants on the other side who have a stewardship of money and don't see it as evil at all. So you can combine spirituality with any level of money management. But the truth is, for anything, you're going to need money. And a lot of people I've met who say, oh, I don't care for money, are actually slaves to money. They have a bad paying job that's making them live paycheck to paycheck, dream of things that are material instead of spiritual or empowering or personal development. They want a new car because they got to go to work with a new car. And so, yeah, money can buy one thing. It's freedom, it's time. And that's one thing that people don't see about money. They see, oh, I need money because I need to get dressed. No, you need money because you have dreams and you want your dreams to become a reality. And so there is always going to be something that money will help your life get easier. Money can make you work part-time, stay at home if you want to stay with the kids, or just do nothing all day. It can help you start a business. It can help you not be miserable that day you get sick and decide not to work. Well, you have that cushion, that pile of money that's, if you don't like your job, you can give your resignation and go just work at Starbucks and you'll be fine because you have these savings. So money is actually really powerful, and I think the more you, I don't know, it's, yeah, for me it's not good or bad, it's just something you need in your life, and you should try your best to attract money. And even if you're in the spiritual or whatever alternative kind of business, you're going to need to eat. So charging for your services is just having people recognize your worth. And a lot of people are having a hard time, charging a fair amount. They're like, oh yeah, I'm just give me whatever, or it's gonna be fine. But the truth is, yeah, we all have needs. And if you're good at what you do, people are just going to throw money at you.
So I like that viewpoint, that seeing money as just another tool, just like a toothbrush or a car or whatever. And it's not like we think of toothbrushes as being good or evil. They're just there to help you clean your teeth more efficiently. And it's not that you can't clean your teeth without a toothbrush. Sure, you can stick your finger in your mouth, but it isn't going to do as good a job, and it's going to be harder to do.
Exactly.
So maybe money can't buy you love, but it certainly can buy you options, freedom, time, and ease.
Yes. And it's bought me a nice plane ticket the day I broke up with my boyfriend.
Oh, there you go.
Wanted to get away or buy him out. Hey, I don't want to see you again. That was a big one to a Guatemalan guy who's not used to women, especially having power. And hey, I don't want to see you in my house. Here's a check. It's my house now.
Now, if you want to attract money, what do you see the problems people have, the obstacles they have to attracting money in their business?
Many people just start a business for the sake of starting a business, not what they're truly good at. But yeah, like when I was selling these energy saving things, I'm not a salesperson at heart. I'm a writer, I'm a creative person, I'm a traveler. I'm not a buy and sell shower heads kind of person. And I started it because the figures made sense, and yeah, we're going to buy it for that much, and we're going to sell it for that much, and we're going to make that profit. And I think people can feel it. if you're not passionate about it, and even if it was not like selling encyclopedia to old ladies, and you know, in the end you were saving water, so you were saving on your water bill, and I was selling you a cheap solution to reduce your bill. So you were just giving me part of the savings, basically. It was not extortion or not unethical business, but it was not my business. It was not something I would live for. And I think that one of the mistakes a lot of people make is just starting any kind of business, and you're not going to attract money that way. You're going to be fine. Maybe you're going to make a living, but you're not going to be abundant.
Yeah, and I see that a lot. We're both in an entrepreneurial group called Dynamite Circle with over 1,000 members. And I'd say more than 50% of them really don't enjoy the business. They like to sell it or, you know, totally automate it because they just don't enjoy doing it.
Yes. And then if it starts making money, there's an existential crisis. Like, who am I? What am I doing? One of the persons I talked to in the Dynamite Circle is making 5 figures a month, selling something that is completely automated, has an army of VAs in Southeast Asia, and no life goal. I'm like, what do you do all day? And it sounds kind of depressing not to wake up in the morning and be energetic about what you do. And I feel that a little bit with some of my blogs who are purely automated, cash flowing. I don't like them. And my main blog that I started first is about my life, is about me. I poured my heart and soul into it. And it's the blog with the best metrics. It's the blog that gets the most money, that attracts the best kind of readers. People comment on it, they encourage me. And yeah, there's a big difference between that blog and the other ones. And when I found that, I imagine I came to a point where the blogs were more than covering my life expenses, even if they stayed automated for life. And Guatemala came in because I needed purpose. I needed something tangible, something I could touch. I have a website. What does that make me? A website owner. It's not like I can show you my house and you can tour it and you can touch the walls that I've made with local stones and a lot of sweat from everyone in the village who contributed. It's nice. And I have an education project in the village. I get free IT and English classes for the kids. And we're used to reach about 250 kids a week. So it was a big thing. Now I've scaled back a little because I'm building a house in Colorado and there's only so much bandwidth for everything. But yeah, I think if you have a calling or if you're good at something, you're going to attract money. And now I like building, so I'm building houses, and I thought, okay, I could buy and flip a couple of properties in the Midwest and make them cash flow and do this and do that. It's crossed my mind for a quick second. And then I thought, no, I want to be good. I want to be happy wherever that property is going to be. And I picked a really nice piece of land in the mountains of Colorado. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a nice log cabin, and I'm going to be in nature. It's going to be completely off-grid with solar. It's going to be amazing. And everyone, all my friends from Denver, they're going to want to come up for the weekend. And because it's going to be so amazing, I could sell it for a lot of profit. It's desirable in a great location. You're 45 minutes away from Denver. You can go there just for the weekend, and just potentially selling that property when it's finished, it's going to make me way more money than the little fix and flips and headaches from the Midwest. So by picking what is right for me, I'm actually attracting more money.
Now, do you think it's important that if you want to make money, you have clear goals around money, or does that not matter? Or
I don't have clear goals. I'm more of a feels right kind of person. Some people need goals. I often compare money with diets, and some people need to count calories, and some people know when they overeat, then they need a salad the next day. And I'm that seems to eat whatever she wants.
yes, here's my sacrificial lettuce because I ate too many foods yesterday.
There you go. Well, when it comes to money, I have that instinct that I know when I need to make some, I know when I need to spend less, I know it just comes naturally. But I also recognize that it's not for everybody, and some people may need a spreadsheet and to write everything down, everything they spent this week, and tally it with what they made and see where the problem is. So it's not a one size fits all.
So why are you proud to use your business intuition, Pauline?
Because it makes me me. It's kind of weird to explain, but if I do what's right for me, I'm self-preserving, I'm taking care of myself, and if I use the head decisions, yeah, I would make myself miserable in the process.
And then I'm on a mission for all business owners to openly use their intuition at work, because they'll make more money, they'll be happier, less stressed. So what would it take to make business intuition more openly used this year?
To take business intuition, what?
What would it take to make business intuition more openly used this year?
Awareness, but I guess when people think from the head, they need to be shown results. So if you have testimony of people who change their approach and can say, yeah, I used to be like you, and then I did that, and then I got X, Y, Z as a result, that might help more square-minded people envision what could be.
So if people want to find you online, what are the best ways to do that?
You can find me at richfinancialindependence.com, and I'm on Google, Facebook, everywhere. But yeah, my main website is richfinancialindependence.com.
Great. Well, we'll put the Reach Financial Independence website and the Twitter and your Facebook in the show notes. And thanks so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you very much. It was lovely.